The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you. It's daunting me. It's just the ghosts of you and me. It's just the smoke and gasoline. It's just the ghosts of you and me. Of you and me. All these whispers.
My name is James Hershey. Right back.
All these shadows in my mind. With my reflections I can't find. It's just the ghosts of you and me. It's just the smoke and gasoline. It's just the
That ought to
ghosts
do
of
it.
you and me. Of you and me. Don't let them take you away. Don't let them bring you down inside. It's just the mirrors in your mind. Don't let them bring you down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, Old Boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's having a good night.
On tonight's episode, we are going to be answering a question that was sent to me in a letter from a listener. I get a lot of emails from the readers of my novels, and also I get emails from the listeners to this radio show. And this letter comes from a woman named Jennifer. I'm going to read you the letter and then explain what the show will be about tonight. To be completely honest, it's an email, not a letter, but same thing. So here is the email from Jennifer. Dear Mr. Hershey, hello, my name is Jennifer, and I have been listening to your show for several months. I work in astronomy, and as a scientist, I never thought that a paranormal show hosted by a horror author would ever become a can't-miss show for me. The first show of yours that I heard was the episode that you did on the Flat Earth Theory. My niece Shannon really loves your show, and sent me the link to the YouTube video of the show. She wanted me to listen to the show and, for lack of a better phrase, fact-check it for her. I expected to hear some half-cocked conspiracy theory about how the Earth was actually flat and the government had been manipulating reality and covering it up or some such nonsense. Instead, what I heard was a well-researched and well-thought-out show that was 100% factually accurate. I found that I really enjoyed listening to the show and decided to browse your YouTube channel to find another episode that might interest me. Over the next week, I had listened to 8 more shows, and I will admit I was hooked. It fascinates me that no matter how sure I am at the beginning of the show, that whatever you're talking about is make-believe, by the end I cannot find fault with any of your logic, and sometimes I even agree with you. I respect the fact that every episode that I have heard has been well researched, and you always back up any claims that you make with actual evidence and documentation. You said something recently on one of your shows that really clicked with me, and honestly has changed my life. It was in all reality a simple statement, but it was profound. On the episode, you answered a question that mankind has been trying to answer since the beginning of time, as you put it. That question was, what is the meaning of life? Your simple but profound answer was love. On the surface, it seemed like a simple answer, but the more that I thought about it, the more layers that I realized that answer contained. All of the horrible things that humans do to each other, you would never do to somebody that you loved. You were absolutely correct. If we all truly loved each other, all of the major societal and global problems that we all face would just fade away. I am writing you to say thank you for all the entertainment and for that simple but profound answer that has changed my life. I will continue to listen as long as you continue to do the show, and if you have any other life-changing information to share, I would love to hear it. Thank you for your time, Jennifer. Now, Jennifer included her last name as well, but I'm not going to include the last name. I find that that's usually not a good idea to do. So that was the email that I received. So first of all, I would like to say thank you, Jennifer, for your kind words. That was amazing. It really means a great deal to me that something that I said on the show has impacted your life in such a major way. I also want to give an extra special shout out to your niece, Shannon, because apparently she is a super fan, and you would not even know about the show if it wasn't for her. So Shannon, we love you. Thank you so much for listening to the show and for spreading the word for us. We greatly appreciate that. The goal here on Staring, as I've said a million times, is to actually answer some of these monumental questions and to try to determine if these creatures that we talk about here every week actually exist. Now, sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, but we want to get to the truth. That's why I put a lot of hours of research into each show. Okay, we're here for an hour to talk to you every week. But for each 1 hour show, I've got 15 to 20 hours of research in to find those answers, sometimes way more than that. Sometimes the research spans back years that I've been researching that subject, and we just decided to do a show about it. Now, you asked me if I had any other life-changing information that I wanted to share with you. And although that's kind of a lot of pressure and you're kind of putting me on the spot, the answer to that question, my dear, is yes, I do. So on tonight's episode, I want to share something with you that is personal, something that I do myself every single day of my life. I'm going to teach you how you can actually heal your own body using the power of your own mind. Now, I understand that on the surface, that might sound like a crazy and impossible claim. But I believe that by the end of tonight's episode, not only will you not think that it's so crazy, but you will also have a good understanding of how any one of you that are listening right now can put this into practice in your own lives and begin feeling much, much better. So in the beginning, let me say that what I'm going to teach you tonight does not come from any one religion. This is not one of my Bible episodes where I'm going to be quoting scripture to you all night. It does not rely on Jesus Christ to heal you. It does not rely on God to heal you. It does not rely on any sort of magic or anything like that. It also doesn't come from any one new age guru kind of thing. Okay? I am not your guru. I am nobody's guru. I do not possess any supernatural powers, any voodoo, hoodoo, or doo-doo like that. I, just like you, am an ordinary sinner. I have no superpowers. That's why when I tell you that any one of you can do this as well, I know that to be true. Our bodies are amazing machines. Because if you really think about it, that's what our body is. It's made of flesh, but it's a machine. And your body is constantly both breaking down and deteriorating. And at the exact same time, it is renewing and rebuilding itself every second of the day. So I think that the first step here would be to determine what causes us to feel bad and to get sick. Now, sickness, pain, suffering are caused by two major forces. The first of these is the spiritual or the emotional force, and the second is the physical. Now, spiritual or emotional suffering is caused by things like stress, fear, sadness, nervousness, things like that, emotions. Physical suffering is caused by things like disease, physical trauma, the buildup of toxins in the body, that sort of thing. Now, the interesting thing here is that the spiritual or the emotional can manifest itself as a physical ailment over time. That's why you always hear doctors say that stress can cause the body to actually develop disease. That a lot of times when people suffer from major diseases like heart disease and stuff like that, a lot of that is induced by stress. Stress is bad for your body. Now, this is a very important point, because if stress, which is an emotional or a spiritual construct, can cause a physical condition to manifest, then you can use a spiritual or emotional force to counter a physical condition as well. That's simple logic. So emotions come from your mind. So in simple terms, if your mind can make you sick, then you can use your mind to make you well. Now, I told you that I actually do this in my life every single day. So I want to share with you a couple of experiences from my own life where I use the power of my mind to actually heal a physical condition. Now, I'm not going to tell you about the million times that I've cured myself of a bad headache, because that's rather ordinary. I'm not going to tell you about, muscle cramps or little things like that. I want to talk about a couple things that were fairly bad and that I ended up having to go to the hospital for, and that I managed to heal myself before the doctors even got a chance to see me. The first story I want to tell you took place many, many years ago. Before I became an author and wrote books, before I ever got on the radio, I did a lot of different jobs. I was a forklift driver for a while. I've done sales. And I was also a chef for many, many years. I really, really enjoyed cooking. And earlier on in my life, I played music as well. And sometimes I would hold these jobs while I was playing music also. I'd work a couple days during the week, play gigs in the weekend. This first story takes place when I was working as a chef in a restaurant. Now, that day I had decided that I was going to make a very, very yummy bread pudding to put on the menu as one of the desserts. The reason for this is because I had a lot of rolls left over. Now, when you make bread pudding, a lot of people at home, they take bread right out of the packaging. Bread has been sitting around for a little while. They don't want to waste it. They don't want it to go bad, so they decide they're going to use it up. That's how you get bread pudding a lot of times. That's what all of our grandmas used to do. Restaurants are no different. When you make up a lot of rolls in buffet restaurants and places like that, not all those rolls get eaten. And after the first day, you can't really put those back out on the buffet again because they get hard. But they're perfect for bread pudding, because all you have to do is just either cut or rip those rolls up and put them in a pan, and you're going to be adding milk and you're going to be adding juice from your peaches and stuff like that, so that bread's going to soften up and get soggy. So it's perfectly fine to use day-old bread for bread puddings or stuffings or whatever. And that's what I was doing this day. But since I was making it as a menu item, I needed to make a great deal of it. So I had a bunch of pans lined up, these big bus pans. And I was mixing up the bread puddings in it, and I was going to dish them all out and put them in the oven. Well, the peaches that I was going to use were going to come from what they call number 10 cans. Now, a number 10 can is a gigantic can. It's like the kind you can buy at the Price Club or something like that, the real big one. So I opened up this can with an industrial can opener that was on the table, and I was carrying the can over to the sink to drain it. Well, some of the peach juice had spilled out of the can because it was very full down onto the side. And I had done this 1,000,001 times, and that's how accidents always end up happening, is when you are not paying attention because you become complacent doing something. And that's what happened here. I was not paying proper attention, and I was carrying this can over to the sink, and it began to slip in my hands. Now, in a situation like that, for anybody that's listening, what you want to do is move your hands as far away from that damn can as you can, step back out of the way, and just let it fall to the floor. The hell with it. It's just a can. Who cares? So you spill some peaches. Not the end of the world. But out of instinct, I tried to catch the can. Well, when I did so, the lid sliced down and almost severed my middle finger from my hand. It was dangling. Needless to say, those bread puddings were ruined. Because if there's one thing that will ruin a delicious bread pudding, it is copious amounts of blood inside of it. I also needed to have myself an ambulance ride. So I went to the hospital, and they stitched my hand back together. They saved my finger. Although for many years afterwards, that fingertip was numb. Feeling has returned, thank God, but for a long time I had no feeling in that fingertip. But anyway, they stitched me up, they sent me home. The next day, I began feeling very bad. The following day after that, I suffered through that day, and the next day that came along, I realized that I had begun to get an infection in my finger where they had sewed it back up. I thought it was an infection because the entire area was very red and inflamed. It was beginning to swell, and I was running a very high fever. And I was starting to get to the point where I was becoming delirious off and on. I kind of didn't know what was real anymore sometimes. So my wife convinced me to go to the hospital again. I'm not a man that enjoys hospitals. I really, really hate them. But she convinced me to go. So I go back to the hospital, and apparently my fever was not severe enough to warrant being seen immediately. Although, according to their equipment, my fever was 104.9 degrees. So in my mind, that's a pretty severe fever. But they felt very content to allow me to wait in the ER waiting room for 5 hours. Now, sometime after the 4th hour of sitting there waiting, I decided that I did not want to wait any damn more. This was ridiculous. So I went back up and I talked to the lady and I said, "Lady, are you going to see me or what's going on here? I could die in your waiting room. I feel horrible. My fever is through the roof." They took my fever again. It was still 104.9. And they said, "We'll get you as soon as we can. We've had a couple bad accidents. We've had the chopper come in a couple times. We're doing the best we can." And I said, "Well, I'm just going to go home." And she informed me that I was not allowed to go home. Because with my fever that high, if I chose to leave, they would call the police. Now, I don't know if she was telling me the truth or if she was bluffing to get me to stay, but that's what she told me. She said if my fever broke and got back down to a normal level, that they'd be fine with me going home. But until that happened, I had to stay and wait for the doctors. And of course, she says that with a smirk because fevers just don't go away on their own usually. But I figured challenge accepted. So I went back into the waiting room and I laid my head down on the table. Because you know those tables like you eat lunch at in school? There was a little section, a little room off the waiting room that had those kind of tables in it and vending machines. And that's where I was sitting. So I went back there and I laid my head down on the table. And I started to concentrate on getting my fever down. Now I sat there for a good half hour going through this technique that I'm going to teach you tonight. And I began to feel much, much better. When I got to the point that I believed that I was fine and dandy and ready to go, I got back up and walked back over to the main desk where the lady was. And I told her that I was ready to go home, and she repeated what she had told me before, that I could not go, they'd call the police. And I said, "You told me if my fever got down to a normal level, that you would allow me to leave. So I believe that I have reduced my fever to a normal level, so take my temperature again, and if it's normal, I'm out of here. If not, then I'll go back and wait again." Now, she thought there's no way in hell that could have happened, so she agreed to take my temperature once again. To her shock, my temperature was 98.4, and I was allowed to leave and go back home. So that's one example of where I actually use this technique in my life to make physical changes to my body and heal myself. This next story I'm going to tell you honestly does not paint me in a very good light, but it's the truth, and I'm always going to tell you the truth, even if it's embarrassing to me. So here's what happened. There was this girl that I was interested in. Now, I wasn't interested in this young lady for a relationship. I did not want her to be my girlfriend, my steady girl, or anything like that. I was interested in her for other reasons that are not very good reasons. I'm sure you all can imagine what I'm talking about. Well, one night, around 11:30, 11:45-ish, she calls me up, and she tells me to come over to her house and pick her up. That she had thought about the indecent proposals that I had been making to her and decided to take me up on it. Well, at the time, I'm right out of school. I'm in my early 20s. I'm pretty excited about this. She was right out of school. She was probably 19 or 20 herself and still lived with her parents. So I roll up in my car. At the time, I was driving a Ford Festiva, a tiny little car. It's hard to believe my giant ass was in a little car like that, but it's true. I stop in front of her house, and I wait for her. Now, the plan was she was going to come out to the car. But what I did not know is what she had decided she was going to do is jump out of her window and come over to the car. Now, that would not be a problem, except she lived on the second floor of her house. Her window led directly over the front porch. So all she really had to do was climb out on the front porch, jump off the top of the porch roof, down onto the ground, and get in my car, and we could take off. But she was scared. So what she did was come out of the window and just stand on top of the porch roof for about 10 minutes. Now, I was getting rather bored with sitting there waiting, and to be quite honest with you, I was getting a little aggravated, because I did not want to get caught by her father sitting in front of her house waiting for her to jump off that damn roof. So I got out of my car, and I walked around to where she was standing. And I was trying to do that yell whisper thing where you are whispering very loud but still trying to whisper to tell her to go ahead and jump, that I'd catch her. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know if I could have caught the broad or not. She wasn't a very big thing. She was a skinny girl, but who knows? But she was still rather scared. Now, I'm doing my best charming bit to try to get her to jump into my arms so that I can get her in my car and take her away. As I'm sitting there talking to this lady, I hear this horrendous crash behind me and the sound of ripping metal. Now, in what I assume only took a second or two, time seemed to slow down and stretch out on me. And it seemed like this eruption of violence behind me was going on for hours. It was so loud that nothing else existed anymore in the world except for that sound. I spun around to face whatever threat it was behind me that was making that god-awful noise. And I did a 180 just in time for my little red Ford Festiva to smash into my chest and send me flying through the air. Now, I flew 10 or 15 feet and smashed down on the ground. Now, needless to say, that made a hell of a racket, and her father come barreling out the house in his underwear with a pistol. And I tell you, he was fit to be tied. He was mad as hell. Now, the brave girl that she was, she turned around and dove back into her window and pretended that she was asleep. She didn't even know why I was there. So the police come, and the ambulance comes. Turns out, an old lady who worked at the factory had just gotten off work and was exhausted. And she fell asleep when she was driving her big, beautiful American-made car that smashed into my little bitty Festiva and sent it up into my chest. Now, I hurt like hell. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a painful experience. And the EMTs seemed to think that I might have broken ribs or bruised lung or who knows what could have been wrong with me, that I needed to go to the hospital to get checked out. My friend had been with me at the time. He was waiting in the car. So they loaded him on a stretcher and took him to the ER. And I rode up with him to make sure he was okay and to get checked out, supposedly. Although I hadn't decided yet whether I was going to allow the doctors to check me out. Now, this whole ride up, my chest was aching and hurting. But I sat there and I concentrated and I did this thing that I'm going to tell you guys how to do tonight. And by the time I got to the ER, pretty much all the pain was gone, except for just a little bit. It was definitely tolerable, and I never did get checked out by the doctors. I assume I was fine because I'm still here. And this was like 30 years ago. So that's the second story. Not as impressive as the first, but a good story nonetheless. Now, the last one I want to talk about happened recently, where I got lit up by some hornets. Now, I've been stung hundreds of times in my life by different bees, and I've never had any sort of allergic reaction whatsoever. I've always been fine. But for some reason this time, it was bad. My face started to swell up, my eyes started to swell shut, my throat started to swell closed. But before all that happened, I felt like I was on fire, and I itched something fierce. It was the worst itch I've ever felt in my life, and I felt like I was on fire, like I was so hot. So I got in the car, I drove myself actually, while this was taking place, to the hospital, which wasn't very easy to do because I couldn't see very well. But I got there. So it took them 5 hours to stabilize me at the emergency room. The doctor thought I was going to die. It was funny because he panicked when I came in, looking at me, he said, "Yeah, you're definitely having a severe allergic reaction." He said, "Mr. Hershey, you've got to make sure that you remain calm." He said, "If you freak out, that's going to spread the poison from the bees into your system faster, and it's going to make it worse." The funny thing was, I was completely and totally calm. I was in no way scared or upset at all. He asked me if I was in pain. He offered me pain medication. But the funny thing was, I had zero pain. It didn't hurt at all. And even though I knew that my throat was closing and that it was quite possible that I might not live to see the end of that night, I was not afraid. I've already died once in my life, and it was not a scary situation. I do not fear what is after this life because I know where I'm going. I'm saved. I'm going to heaven to be with my Savior. The thing that scares me about leaving this world would be leaving the people that I love behind. I won't be there anymore to help them, to take care of them, to make sure that they're okay. To me, that's the part that worries me. But I was 100% calm. He took my blood pressure. I was fine. Now, my eyes were swelling shut, my throat was swelling closed, and they had to give me a bunch of different shots, an IV, the whole nine. It took them 5 hours, but they got me stabilized. Now, for the next 2 days after that, I was just weak as hell. And the arm that they put the IV in hurt very bad. That was not where I got stung, but for whatever reason, it hurt severely. It was like all the muscles in it were constantly cramped up or something. It was terrible. So on night 2, things got very, very, very bad. I was in a great deal of pain. I felt horrible. I could barely keep down food. And I did not have the strength to do a simple thing like get up and walk to the bathroom. Every time I tried to walk to the bathroom to urinate, it was like the entire world was spinning around on me. So at the end of that night, when I lay down to go to sleep, I spent a couple hours doing this technique. And when I woke up the next day, I felt like $1 million. I was still weak because I hadn't eaten in 2 days, but I was able to get my strength back by taking some food, but I felt great. My arm no longer hurt. My stomach was no longer upset. I felt wonderful. So those are some examples from my actual life. Things that actually happened to me, to where I use this technique to heal myself and to make myself feel better. Now I'm going to explain to you how this technique works, what I do. You don't have to do exactly what I do. You can do your own version. That's completely fine. As long as you stick to the basic principle of it, I think you'll be okay. So the first step is you want to control your breathing. You want to close your eyes. You want to relax your body. One of the best ways to relax your mind and your body is through breathing. Deep, slow, rhythmic breathing. Once you've done that for a little bit and you're breathing and you're calmed down and relaxed, you focus on whatever part of your body that you're having a problem with, or whatever it is that you are having a problem with. So in other words, if you have a severe headache and you're trying to get rid of a migraine, you are going to visualize your headache. You're going to visualize that migraine. Now, whether you do that as your brain or your head, or as a little opposing army that you have to go after, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The visualization focuses your healing power onto the object that you're trying to heal, the part of you that you're trying to fix. So it doesn't matter how you do it. I do it a bunch of different ways, whatever I decide that day I want to do it as. Sometimes I imagine the body part or the thing as a glowing red mass, like has a red aura around it. And I am shooting like golden light onto it. And I'm trying to change the color from glowing red to glowing gold. And when it glows gold, I'm healed. Sometimes you can imagine like there's little armies doing battle inside of you. And they're the bad guys and you're the good guys. And you're sending those healing vibes in and they're taking on the bad guys and defeating them. It sounds silly, but it doesn't matter how you want to picture it. It just matters that you're focusing that energy. The Chinese believe it's called qi. It's the energy that flows through your entire body. You're focusing that healing energy on the part of your body that you're trying to heal. Now, on top of that, I like to talk to my pain as well. So in other words, if I have a headache, a very bad headache I'm trying to get rid of, I will visualize the headache. I will visualize healing the headache in whichever fashion I choose to visualize it. And on top of that, I will speak in my mind. I will tell myself over and over again, your head does not hurt. You are fine. You are in no pain. Your headache is going away. Your head does not hurt. Just keep repeating it. Keep telling yourself that whatever it is that's bothering you ain't bothering you, while you're visualizing it being taken away. Now, I keep doing this until I get the results that I'm after. Sometimes it's as easy as a 5-minute fix. Other times it takes hours. It all depends on if you have a quiet place. It all depends on how much you concentrate. And it takes some getting used to doing. But I promise you, this works for me. I actually can affect my physical body using my mind this way. If it's something that is not physical, okay, say you're super depressed. I don't really deal with depression in my own life. I don't have it. But let's say that you are depressed about something. Then what you would do is you would visualize that depression, that sadness. Maybe you visualize it as a gray storm cloud or whatever that's just raining all over you. So then you're going to visualize, first of all, an umbrella or something to block the rain so it doesn't get on you. That stops the effect of the depression on you. Then you're going to visualize that gray rain cloud stopping raining and then turning white and fluffy and beautiful with golden sunshine coming out of it or whatever. You're going to visualize that in your mind, and you're going to keep telling yourself over and over again, I am not depressed. I am happy. I feel good. You're just going to convince yourself. You're going to keep saying it over and over and over again until you feel it. And that's the basic technique in a nutshell. It sounds simple, but I'm telling you guys, it works. And you can actually heal yourself. I believe that there's nothing that cannot be healed with the power of the mind. I honestly believe that. Now, granted, maybe you get your arm chopped off or something like that, you're not going to grow a new arm. Okay? I mean, let's be reasonable, guys. But within reason, I think there's nothing that you can't fix. If you believe, if you have faith and you convince yourself that your mind is such a powerful, powerful thing. And if it can give you disease, it can absolutely take it away. If it can give you depression and pain, it can absolutely take it away. In the Bible, Jesus says if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. You can tell that mountain to go from here to here and it'll listen to you. Faith is a powerful thing, and not just faith in God, but faith in general, the power of belief, the power of your own mind. People, I think, have no idea how powerful their minds actually are. So that is my technique, guys. I hope that it helps you, and I hope that you've enjoyed these stories. And I'm going to throw over to Old Boy to get his opinion on it, and maybe he's tried something like this in his life. I don't know. So Old Boy, go ahead and take it away, brother.
Thank you, brother. And I want to thank Jennifer for that letter. I'm glad you love our show because we try to make it the best show out there because we're different than anybody else because we don't just talk, about one subject. It's many. Like this one's a new one. This is something we've never done before about healing, self-healing or spiritual healing, whatever you want to call it. And I want to thank you guys and tell your niece thank you too. To the bottom of my heart. I love hearing this because it makes us feel good that we're reaching people. Even though me and James believe differently, but we're reaching people in a good way, and that's all it really matters when it comes down to, like you said, love. Now, let me get to the spiritual and healing stuff. I've listened to James, and those are some interesting stories, especially they got a real kick out of the car hitting you. That was pretty funny. Old lady falling asleep after working a long day. Slam. There you go, James. Sounds like a story at James. A lot of stuff has happened to James, though, so that's no surprise there. I'm kind of not surprised about it. That was just funny. But, yes, I've done this, too. I believe James is what he says in most things. I believe that you can heal yourself. It may not take a day. It could take months and weeks, or it could take a couple hours just for little things. But I have done it myself with fevers like he has. I had a fever of 103, 104 myself when I was 17. I had pneumonia. I had just got over, I thought it was bronchitis. I was smoking like a bad kid at the time, so I made it worse and I got pneumonia. I got a fever to the point where I was talking to, at the time I thought I was talking to God. That's why my mom made me go to the hospital. They wouldn't let me leave because I couldn't get my breathing right and my fever wouldn't go down. So after I kept fighting with them, because actually it isn't illegal, you can sign out a paper waiving anything to get out of the hospital, because I did it with my dad a couple years ago. So next time you go to the hospital, remember that, James. I sat there for an hour, and I said, I'm going to breathe better. And I thought in my mind, I'm going to get this fever down. And lo and behold, my breathing went better, and my fever dropped to 98.6. My body runs around 98.8 to 99.1, and that actually happens. People's body temperatures do fluctuate, or they run hotter. My body runs hotter. It finally dropped down, and I left. And I had to take medicine because, if you have pneumonia, you got to take some kind of antibiotics. But I ended up getting better a couple of weeks later. I healed myself from that fever and that breathing machine to get out of the hospital, because I hate being in hospitals, just like James. I hate being in a hospital altogether. Because when I was a kid, I used to have to go there all the time, because in Pennsylvania, where I used to live, it was very damp. So I got sick all the time. That's why we moved to California. And gradually, it took years, but I don't get sick all the time anymore. But yeah, with that instance, it did work. And it has worked with me on other things, like my back. It hurts me all the time. I have sciatic nerves. But I'll think in my head, and after a while, I'll forget about it. I'll think to get rid of the pain, and I'll forget about it. It doesn't go away forever, but it goes away for a while. And I won't have that pain anymore. And just like with headaches or migraines, I'll do the same thing, and they'll go away. It'll take an hour or two, but it will go away. I was on a head-on collision. This old man, I was driving, I was going out, me and my friend. I had just got paid. We're all happy. We're going to go down to where I live is in the high desert. We were going to go down by L.A. Pick him up, driving. This old man in a brand new Lexus decides to run the red light. Pows me. My head hits the steering wheel. Busted my head. I had whiplash. I was arguing. I was so mad. This guy was a jerk. I ended up taking him to court and winning. Because he, like I said, there were so many witnesses there. But I had whiplash, and I thought I had a concussion. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. They were looking for me because at that time I was still smoking. I quit almost 8 years ago. But I was smoking cigarettes, and I was really in a really bad mood. And so I remember they didn't want me to leave. Oh, you might have this, you might have that. And I'm like, dude, trust me. I feel good. Let me go. The headaches went away. I willed it away, and they let me go. And it worked. It works. This stuff does work if you believe it. I mean, it doesn't cure cancer. It helps. I mean, I believe in spiritual healing too. Don't think I've done stuff with that because of what I believe in. I've done stuff that's made me, with sage. It cleanses your body out. It cleanses all the chemicals and all the hate. You can do that. That's a different side of it with spiritual. That can heal you. I've healed myself that way too. I've healed myself with depression. That's a big thing because a lot of people have a depression, and that could help you if you do it that way. Meditate with herbs and stuff like that. That can help you with that. That's a whole different thing, but I've helped myself with depression a lot because before I had a lot of depression. I've had a hard life. We all have. But I've had a really hard life. I've had a lot of tragedy happen in my life, and it's taken a lot for me to get here. Through divorces, I had a bad family member get taken from me in a very bad way. And about 10, 12 years ago, it was a different life for me. I was a different person. I was off the wall crazy. And I changed. I had to heal myself that way. Because you can come back. It doesn't matter how bad it gets, you can come back from it. And it's hard for me to talk about it because it brings back memories of what I had to go through. And some of it wasn't good, because not 100% everything's good, but I willed myself to make my life better. And I did. Just like feel better. I felt like crap too. I felt like I was dying. My body hurt me all the time, but I willed myself to get better. I would meditate, or I would think to myself, please, my back's killing me. I need to get this feel better so I can go to work the next day. And lo and behold, my back would feel better. My back used to stiffen up. It doesn't do it anymore, but my back used to stiffen up to the point where I'd be crooked. And I looked like an old man where I couldn't even walk. And this was when I was like 20-something years old. I think I was playing football, and I smashed my back when I hit this guy. My back, my neck, everything got pushed up, but I never went to the hospital for it. I've never if I have broken a bone, I don't know about it. I've dislocated my ankle. I didn't go to the doctors. It healed after, I wanted to heal, and it did. It healed on its own. I hate going to the doctors, man. I'll tell you a story. It's funny. When I was 17, I had thyroid problems. I still do. I don't take it because the medicine I took could have killed me. And I got a check one day because I got sued over it. But that's another story. But my parents took me to go get my blood taken. I hate needles, man. I hate needles because I've had bad experiences. They tried to take my blood. I ran out of the hospital. I ran. I was almost 18 years old, running down the street. My parents had to come. They were so mad at me. But I don't like it. But I'll do it if I have to. And I don't know. I just never like needles like that, getting stuck in my arm. It's just something about it. It bothers me. I used to be a dialysis technician. I used to stick people with needles. Yeah, that's one funny story I will tell you guys. And that had nothing to do with this healing thing, but but when I would get sick, or like James said, when you have pains or something, I would get it away. I don't like to take aspirin and all that and Advil all the time because it can mess up your body, kill your liver, your lungs, and not your lungs, but your kidneys and stuff like that. So you have to self-heal. See, so a lot of people are so dependent on drugs to make themselves feel better that's what happens. They get addicted to that, and that's why I don't want to. So you have to find other ways of healing yourself through like teas, herbal, even your mind. You can fix yourself with your mind. I've done it before. I've made myself feel better when I didn't think I could, like James has. And I believe him because he's not a liar. Everything he says is true. One thing I will say is James is not a liar. So I know he's not lying about what he's telling you guys. So if you guys think he's not making up all this stuff just to say it, he's not. He really probably can do this. Plus, he was in the martial arts, so he knows how to meditate. They teach you that stuff. You can heal yourself. Maybe not with a broken bone or something, but you can keep yourself from being in a lot of pain. And you can do it. You just have to believe it can be done. And I've done it in hospitals. I've done it when I've gotten, I thought I should have been in accidents. I was getting ready to get hit, and I thought to myself, man, can I keep my body from getting destroyed? I've been in like 6 accidents, man. I've been hit I've been hit off a bike going to Del Taco after I got the bike welded together. That's how bad luck I had. I hit my head, but it didn't do anything to me. So maybe. But what I'm saying is I've never had to really go to the hospital only when I was a little kid, but the last 20 years, I've healed myself. And I've done it with my mind most of the time. And that's how I did it. Okay, think about it, guys. I quit smoking after smoking 2 packs a day with cold turkey. I didn't just stop one cigarette here and there. I just quit because even though I was addicted to nicotine, I fought my body to become immune from cigarettes. Maybe that not make sense to you guys, but that was a chemical in my brain that when you smoke all the time, it's in there. You can never get it out of there. You're addicted to nicotine. I fought it and I won, and I have not smoked a cigarette since. I wanted to quit smoking and I did it. And it took a lot of fighting my body and healing my body to do that. When I would go to the gym, I couldn't even run. I fought my body to the point where I could actually run 5 miles without stopping. I've let myself get a little chubby now because my girlfriend cooks really well. Really well. But I remember one time I was at a gym and this guy was laughing skinnies all running and I outran him. He looked at me and goes, "Man, I got to give you credit. I couldn't believe you can run the way you can." And I enjoyed it. I learned how to catch my breath and hold it for minutes at times. You can do it. It takes work, but it can happen. And I've done it. I did it with cigarettes. I had to heal my body from smoking all the time. And I did. I didn't want to be dependent on that. Just like with thyroid, I was dependent on a pill and it's gone away and I don't have those symptoms anymore. I've healed my body. That's why I'm trying to tell you guys, I believe this. I believe it all together. Spiritual, mind, everything, herbs, everything can change your life and your body. You can heal yourself. Don't let anybody ever tell you you can't, because it's usually somebody who doesn't know anything that's like with everything that thinks they know everything because they rely on doctors all the time to save them. And doctors usually are the ones that get you, not saying all doctors are bad, but that's how you get addicted to drugs, prescription drugs, because you get relying on that. Oh, that's the way to get rid of my pain. No, heal yourself because you can. You just got to believe in it. You can't just do it one day and go, "Oh, it's done." No, it doesn't work like that. You got to set your body and do it every day, and you'll get rid of most ailments. You might have to do some herbs and stuff like that, but you'll get rid of what you need to get rid of. Now, if you have a broken arm, it's totally cut off or something like that, and your arm's cut off, your arm's not going to grow another arm. Please go to the hospital because you're going to bleed to death. So remember, you can't do stuff like that. You can't heal yourself from bleeding to death. So don't take like this is going to be like all cure-all either. So yes, I totally agree with you, James. You can heal your body with your mind, brother.
It's sad, but it's very important to make that point you just made. That this is not a substitute for emergency medical care. Okay, if you have a very bad traumatic injury, you're crushed by something, you've broken a bone, hit by a vehicle, you might want to go to the hospital. That's probably your best bet. This can be used to help mitigate the pain and help your body heal faster. A very bad injury, you're going to need medical attention. And that's important to say because you're going to have people that say, "Oh, cool, I never have to go to the hospital again. I can just do this." And they're going to end up dead or something because they're so dumb that they're going to think that, "Oh, well, no worries. Yeah, I don't have a leg anymore, but I can just imagine that I do and I'll be fine." That's not how it works. Okay, this is not a miracle pill. This does not cure everything, but it will absolutely work and it'll absolutely help you. But in serious cases of stuff, you need medical attention. Now, a lot of stuff you can cure with nutrition, with different herbal remedies, stuff like that. You don't need chemicals for everything. A lot of times these prescriptions that doctors give you, the side effects are worse than the thing you're trying to cure. You know, you're going in for a runny nose, you got itchy eyes and a runny nose, allergy stuff, and the side effects on the pill cause like rectal bleeding, swelling of the eyes, bad back, 18 years bad luck, your grandma won't talk to you no more, just these weird ass symptoms that are actually worse than the thing you're trying to cure. I'm not telling you what to do with your own body, it's your decision. But for me, I don't take medicine unless I absolutely have to. I don't take prescription medicines. I don't take over-the-counter medicines if I can help it. I try very hard to not take any of that stuff. Because like old boy was saying, all of it affects your body. It's not natural. Your body is not designed to process these drugs and these chemicals properly. So it takes a toll on your kidneys and your liver, because your kidneys and your liver, that's the main thing your body uses to filter out toxins and waste. So the things that your body cannot use go out through the waste systems. Number 1 and number 2, like we used to say in school. Okay, that's where the body gets rid of that, and sweating and other things, warts and pimples and stuff like that. A lot of that is your body pushing toxins out and storing them on the outside of the body because they're too toxic to store on the inside of the body. Nutrition plays a huge role in health. It is so, so important. You have to make sure that you're getting the right nutrients that you need. And that means eating veggies and stuff that you would not ordinarily enjoy as a child. Most kids won't eat their vegetables, and a lot of us, as we get older, we take that same bad pattern of eating behavior and we carry it on into our adult life as well. So instead of having an apple or an orange or a spinach or something like that, we'll sit and eat a bag of chips. Or one of my vices is cookies. I love cookies, and they're not good for me at all, but I can literally sit and eat an entire box or bag of cookies, no matter what kind they are. And that kind of stuff is horrible for you. That processed food, that sugar stuff is bad. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll drink fruit juices. Now, a lot of people tell you that it's not good to drink the juice because it's a lot of sugars. You don't have the fiber of the actual fruit. Yeah, you don't have the fiber of the fruit, but you have the nutrients. And when you're trying to get the nutrients into you, that's sometimes a really good way to do it. Especially if you're somebody like me that does not enjoy eating a lot of vegetables. But I can have one of my favorite juices is called Green Machine. It's by Naked Juice. And it's got all kinds of amazing stuff in there. It's got spinach. It's got a bunch of different fruits. It's got wheatgrass. It's got even alfalfa and all kinds of stuff. Garlic. It's got a bunch of different stuff, but it tastes amazing. It tastes like a yummy tropical pineapple-y kind of drink. It's wonderful. But it's got just so much nutrition, and that stuff's so important for you. And also what you drink is really important for you as well. You want to have a lot of water so that your body can process, because your body uses water to flush waste, whether it's through sweat or whether it's through urine or even fecal matter. Water goes into all that. That's why if you're constipated and you can't go to the bathroom, drinking a lot of water helps you. Now that might not make sense to some people because they think that they equate water with urination, but water is very crucial to waste removal of all kinds, because that's how your body flushes things out. Because see, water has a negative ionic charge, and pure water is just hydrogen and oxygen, and it's not filled with a bunch of other stuff. Like that's what distilled water is. It's just pure water. So what happens is all the bad things in your body that your body cannot process, all the inorganic minerals and stuff like that build up in your joints and cause things like arthritis and diabetes and other ailments, your body cannot process them because they're inorganic. They all have a positive ionic charge. So what happens is that water goes through your system, and since it has a negative ionic charge, it attracts elements with a positive ionic charge. So it'll literally, like a magnet, suck up all the stuff in your body that's doing you harm, that your body cannot use. And it'll flush right through your system, either through urine or through solid waste or through sweating. That's how your body gets rid of waste. So you want to drink as much water as you possibly can and continually cycle that stuff through you. The best water to drink is distilled water. Now, people will tell you don't drink distilled water because it'll rob your body of minerals. That's true, but there's a catch. See, it does leach minerals out of your body, but the minerals that it leaches out of your body are the minerals that your body cannot process and use. Because see, the organic minerals, which come from plants, they all have a negative ionic charge. Your body can use those. The inorganic minerals, that's what comes from rock and soil. That's not from plants. Your body cannot process inorganic materials. They have a positive ionic charge. Water having a negative ionic charge will repel anything else that has a negative ionic charge. So your organic minerals, which are good for you, your body can actually use that. They cannot be flushed out by water because they have a negative ionic charge, just like the water does. Negative repels negative. Negative attracts positive. The inorganic minerals that hurt you all have positive ionic charges. They will be attracted to the negative ionic charge of the water, and they will be flushed right out. So the people that tell you not to do it are the people that don't know the science behind it. But we are almost out of time. I'm going to do a show just on that topic someday, because that is a fascinating topic. But we can't do it tonight because we are running out of time. So I'm going to throw back over to Old Boy and let him do his shout-outs.
Thank you, brother. And this was a different show, so people are going to trip out. Oh, this ain't paranormal or about crypto. Actually, it's really interesting because we wanted to do something different. And that's how we are. We do a lot of things different on this show. But I want to give a shout out to all you guys on ParaX and the YouTube channel or Facebook. Remember, I love you guys. Check us out if you want to listen to any of our old or newer shows on YouTube. James Hershey will tell you where to go. We also have merchandise where you can get. He'll tell you exactly where to go. I'm also going to get business cards soon and send those out. Keep subscribing on the YouTube page. Like us on Facebook. And always have a great night. And be careful. Have a good weekend. I love you. Blessed be. Good night, Sugar Ladies, Misfits, and Demon Hunters. I love you. And have a great night. Thank you very much because we love doing this. Bye.
My inner science geek came out and wasted a lot of time this episode, so I got to do this quickly. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. Please like and subscribe. Check out all the videos. They're completely free. We do it for you guys. Please like us on Facebook, like Old Boy said. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. And I hope to hear from you and see you again next week. And until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.